So now we'll take you back to KwaZulu-Natal, where the former South African Deputy President Phumzile Mlambo-Ngcuka and the Amazulu King Misuzulu kaZwelithini are expected to lead a national men's march against gender-based violence ahead of International Men's Day. SABC News reporter Bongani Gema is at that march for us. Bongani, has it gotten underway now? And I see quite a number of people, of course, have showed up. Is the King there and the former Deputy President?
Well, Crusader, according to the program, the King is supposed to join the procession here at the Dlamini Park. You remember when we last spoke, we were outside the Durban City Hall, so now we've made our way to the Dlamini Park, where we're now waiting for the King to join us along with his entourage. But you can see other people who have been waiting to join the procession now have joined us. But Crusader, I have with me the Minister for Social Development, Mama Zulu. Mama, the department decided to be part of this inaugural, National Men's Day. How big of an impact do you think this is going to have in society?
It will make an impact because once the Goodman Foundation and a whole lot of other foundations and organizations decided that men must also be brought into the conversation, I think that is a very good decision. And because we need to mobilize against gender-based violence, we need to mobilize society as a whole, and men cannot be excluded from that mobilization. As you can see here, the Goodman Foundation and the Department of Social Development also mobilize religious communities. They also mobilize from different cultural backgrounds, people who are here. They mobilize Izinduna. They mobilize even up to the extent of even calling upon Ubayede himself, Misuzulu, who is going to be here later in the day. I think it's important for us to mobilize everybody. And my view, I've been saying, for us to deal with gender-based violence, we must deal with it house to house, street to street, community to community, so that it can have a greater impact. And we must do a whole lot of work in terms of behavioral change, because this also has got something to do with behavioral change. It's also got something to do with patriarchy. It's also got something to do with power, where some men think that if they have power, they have to be abusive. They don't have to be abusive.
Minister, we understand, we know from the statistics that KwaZulu-Natal is one of the provinces that have a very high number of gender-based violence. And I know your department, you work closely with communities. What is unique about our society here in our province that makes us to be, highest when it comes to gender-based violence?
I think it's a historical background story that makes people carry something that has always been negative. Women have always been at the center of communities. Women have always been at the center of building homes. Women have always been at the center of even taking care of people. So my view is that as a nation, we need to deal with violence in general, where people think that the only solution when you have a problem is to be violent. And we must trace it back also to a brutalized society and tell ourselves that we still need to go back and cleanse ourselves of the past violence being something that is normal. Violence cannot be normal, and there's no community and there's no society that can grow, that can develop, that can make a future if we don't deal with violence. Therefore, KwaZulu-Natal might be known as that province which is in the front line, but I think the work of the provincial government, the work of the provinces, the work in particular of NPOs, non-profit organizations, and NGOs who are supported by a government need to work on this. The other issue is the LGBTQI. That is one also a sore point, where many of our people are still not accepting that people have got the right of choice when it comes to their sexual choices. They have the right. We need to be able to protect the LGBTQI community, but we also need to be protecting all our people at all levels. So in short, I think we must deal with violence in general, but obviously focus on violence against women and children.
Thank you very much for your time, Minister.
My pleasure.
That was the Minister of Social Development, Mama Zulu, just giving us a take on what needs to be done to end gender-based violence. We heard her saying that we need a complete, mindset change in our societies, and saying that we need to go door to door and speak to families directly in order to try, and fight this scourge that, is really terrorizing our communities.
Bongani, thank you very much indeed. Live to us there, that march not yet underway. We'll try to catch up with you later on to tell us a bit more about what sentiments were shared there. Thanks indeed, Bongani Gema.